Hello, everyone, and welcome to MAC1105. You're either in section 40 or 41. This is the spring 2022 semester rather. My name is Ethan Williams, and I will be your instructor for this course. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to introduce you to the course, show you what's on Canvas, go through the syllabus and pacing, and hopefully touch on everything you need to know to get started. You don't need to remember everything that's in this video, but the goal of this video is to show you where everything is. So when you log on to the Canvas course, you should see this page. It's our home page. And you should see these same links as me as well. Right, but at the top of the home page, this is the main page you're going to do almost everything in. You don't have to do a lot of perusing through these other tabs. At the top here, we're going to have course information, and this is going to be an overview of certain things about the course. There's not going to be any math necessarily here, but what you're going to find here is you're going to find important resources like student office hours. So what are my office hours? When can you come? Resources, this is for help outside of class. There's the syllabus and pacing, which is what I'll go through first. The introduction video, which is what this is. So you'll be led to this through an announcement, but this will always be here if you need to revisit it. And then the rest of here on the bottom is related to things about a calculator, what you need. There's a free calculator online that you can use during your tests and homeworks. Textbook links, just in case you want to use the textbook. It's not required, and it is also free, but it's there for you. And these are just 2 extra handouts that I've made over the years. I realize they're very helpful. All right, but like I said, I'm going to start with the syllabus and pacing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. I just like to open a new tab, so I'm going to right click. And you'll see a link to the syllabus and a link to the pacing. So I'm going to go ahead and open the syllabus. I'm just going to run through the highlights here. I'm not going to go through the details. You can read it, and if you have any questions, you can ask. But I just want to hit on the highlights. All right, so like I said, this is MAC 1105, Spring 2022, and College Algebra Section 41 and 40. Now, our meeting times are online. Of course, this is an online course, but there is office hours on Zoom. Those are on Mondays and actually I thought I added this, but this should be Tuesdays, so I apologize. That will be fixed by the time you actually open the syllabus yourself. But my office hours are on Mondays and Tuesdays from 7 to 8 on Zoom. I will show you how to access that, how to get access to the Zoom page. So if you're not familiar with it, just stay with me. After I go through the syllabus, I'll show you how to do that. And just in case you do forget, there is a student office hours tab. So I'll just refer back here. The information will be inside here, how to get onto office hours. Now, because my office hours are only a couple days a week, if you have a question, you can always email me at a different time. I will answer you on different days. These aren't the only days that I will be available to answer emails. It's just the only days that I will be on Zoom. Okay. So my email address, very straightforward, is ethan.williams@tcc.fl.edu. So if you need to contact me really for anything, email is the best way to go. But if you do have questions and they happen to occur during office hours, it's usually better to ask me math questions, at least during office hours. So it's a lot easier if you're available during these times. Just ask me the questions then. Right. So required text and materials, there is no required textbook. That means exactly what it sounds like. You don't have to pay for anything except the course itself. Now, you do need really a calculator. You should have a handheld calculator, but you don't need a graphing handheld calculator. So if you read this, you'll see it says every student is required to have a graphing calculator. And the best ones are TI-83 or 84 plus. Now, if you already have one, by all means, use it. If you do not have one, these are about $100. And if you don't want to put that much money into it, there's a free online graphing calculator, which you are free to use during all assessments, including tests. So I won't go through it now, but that's right here. Also in the course information tab on top. But I would say that this calculator, Desmos, is not a useful calculator as far as doing number computations like scientific calculator things. It's just good for graphing. So if you do not have a scientific calculator, a TI-30 is plenty good, and it only costs $10 to $20. There are many versions of the TI-30. I don't know which one's the best, but they're all around the same price. All right, once again, I'm just gonna head on the highlights. So if you have any questions of things I don't go through, feel free to email and ask me. One of the important things I think about this course are not necessarily what's in it. That is important, but why you might be taking this course. This course is a prerequisite for MAC 2233, MAC 1140, MAC 1114, and a number of science classes as well, like chemistry, physics, things like that. So column algebra, you really need to pass it, which means get a C or better to move on to pretty much any other math or science course. All right. Now, communication with the instructor, like I said, the best way to communicate is through email or come to Zoom office hours. You can message me in Canvas Messenger. If you're not familiar with that, I'm not sure if I see the same thing as you, but you can message me through this inbox. If you go here, you can create a message. I do think the easiest way is just to email me. Once again, my email address is up here, and you can always ask me questions like that. But regardless, I will respond to you typically through an email because all your Canvas messages will go through my email. One thing that's important is you'll see very quickly tests are due on Sundays. They are the bulk of your grade. So you might sometimes come across an issue. You can't take it. Your Wi-Fi's out, something like that. The most important thing is I will work with you. I'm not going to say that's just too bad. So if you do have an issue, especially with taking a test, send me an email. I couldn't get on because of so-and-so. And I will respond to you and we can arrange something, right? So even though I won't respond to you before Sunday, typically I won't respond on the weekends, you can always message me. All right. Another big thing, your online tests are proctored. They're proctored through HonorLock. Now for HonorLock, you're probably mostly familiar with HonorLock at this point. I think it's been going around for a couple of years now. And the main thing you need to know is you have to be on Google Chrome to download HonorLock. So that's important. You need to have a webcam. And you need to actually download the HonorLock Chrome extension. Now there is an HonorLock practice test before your real test. The tests are the only times you use HonorLock. So if you run into any issues, you'll run into them on the practice test and we can figure that out. That practice test is a couple weeks before your first test, so we'll have time to figure it out. I will also share a link. See, pretty much everything's on this homepage, which is why I always refer to it, but there's an HonorLock FAQs here. So if you do have a question about how to get onto HonorLock, pretty much everything is in here. You can look at that. And here's some HonorLock links that are helpful, like the support, how to properly room scan, and just a guide. Right now, probably the most important thing to students is on the syllabus, how is my grade determined? All right, so you'll see how it's really set up the schedule when we get to the pacing, but the way your grade, your 100% will come from is we will have discussions most weeks, except test weeks. Those are worth 5% of your grade. Now, you will have to make an initial post by Saturday and 2 peer responses by Sunday. The assignment itself is due Sunday because of this. but you really need to make sure you're making that initial post by Saturday so people have time to respond to you. If no one posts by Saturday, how can you respond by Sunday? Right, so make sure you're doing that. All right, online homework. Everything is online, by the way, because this is an online course, but the homework is 20% of your grade. Homework is due on Fridays. There are also online quizzes, which are due on Sundays, except test weeks. That's 10% of your grade. And there are 3 unit tests, each worth 15% of your grade. Their due dates are here. You'll notice they're all Sunday. And the final exam is 20% of your grade. It's due Thursday, April 8th. Now, the reason the final exam is not due on a Sunday is the semester ends on that Friday, but we can't really wait for the final exam to be due on Friday. What if you have an issue Friday night? Well, the semester's over. You can't take it Saturday. So that's why it's due Thursday. And there's also practice tests. They aren't worth anything for your grade, but they are very similar to the regular tests, and you can get extra credit, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's the only extra credit in the course. So, if you like extra credit, make sure you do it. And it can only help you preparing for the test. It's the best way to get ready for the test. They're always due the day before each test. All right, grading scale is pretty standard here. Above 90 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is C, 60 to 69 is a D, and below 60 is an F. The homework, I'll go through this more detail when I show you on Canvas where all the homework and quizzes and tests are and things like that. So I'm not going to necessarily read through this right now, but they're all done through something called Lumen Ohm. There's just a link right on Canvas. If you click on an assignment, it'll take you to the assignment itself. It'll just open up on a new page. All right. Now, one thing that's important about the quizzes is naturally homework assignments, you will have unlimited tries to do a problem. You can do it until you get it right. But quizzes, the main reason they're different is you only get 4 tries per question. So after your 4 tries, if you don't have it right, you don't get credit. That's why it's important to do the homework. So when the quizzes come around, you can do the quizzes. Now the tests are like normal tests. You only get 1 try per problem. A big difference between tests and quizzes homework is there's the potential for partial credit on tests. So even though you only get 1 chance, it's not always all or nothing. Some of the free response problems you can get partial credit. But the tests will be 90 minutes each. Like I mentioned before, you will be proctored through HonorLock on tests. And once again, there's videos and links on Canvas if you've never used HonorLock before on how to use it. All right, the final exam, I guess the distinguishing thing about the final exam from unit tests is that it's comprehensive. So everything from the entire course is in here. It's worth a little bit more. It'll be accessed through HonorLock, just like the other tests. So you'll be an expert by the time you take the final exam. Now, the important thing is kind of highlighted here. If you miss a test or you get a very low score on one of the 3 tests, if you do well on the final exam, as in its grade is higher than that low test score, it will replace that missing or low test score. So it can really be a savior at the end of the semester. One thing to keep in mind, though, it is comprehensive. So if you didn't do well on a test and then you don't study more for that part of the test when it comes time for the final, you're probably not going to benefit from that. So you really have to study for the final exam a lot. The discussion boards are very straightforward. There's directions in them. I'll click on one just to show you what it looks like at a later time in the video. And practice tests. So this, the only extra credit, each test has a corresponding practice test, including the final exam. If you get at least a 90 on the practice test, you will receive a 3% boost to your corresponding test score. The nice thing about this, if you're thinking, oh, I have to get a 90 on a test, it's not exactly like that. The practice test is there to help you out. So it's set up like a homework assignment. You can do the problems as many times as you need in order to get them correct. But the questions on practice tests are just like the real tests. Right? There's a few extra questions on practice tests than the real test itself. But the point is, if you can do the practice test without any notes, any other help, there's no reason you can't do the test. So it's the best way to prepare. I cannot recommend enough. Do the practice test. But like I said, that is the only extra credit. If you do the practice test extra and you get the extra credit throughout the semester, just keep in mind at the end of the semester, you really got a couple percentage points of extra credit in there. If you don't do it, you missed that on a couple percent of extra credit. One thing I will mention, which is not really written in here, but I don't round the practice tests at all because they are like a homework assignment. You can keep going in and doing them over and over again. So if you get an 89% on a practice test, you do not get the bonus. You have to get 90%. All right, I'll let you read through the honor code, information, academic dishonesty. Long story short, though, for this course, if you're caught cheating, which means you're caught cheating during taking a test, you will ultimately get a 0 on that test, and it will be basically impossible to pass the course if you have a 0 on a test because they're worth so much. So don't cheat. Right. Now, as far as attendance goes for an online course, it's very, very straightforward. If you do work, some type of work during the week, or if you're sick or something so you can't do work and you at least reach out to me, you're counted as attended. All right, so that goes for every week 1 through the finals week. So just make sure you're doing something if you're worried about attendance, and you will certainly be marked as attended. Okay. So some important deadlines is January 10th is the last day to add a class. Now, January 10th, if you look on your calendar, is next Monday. So next Monday is last day to add a class. That's important because even though the last day to drop a class is January 12th, so it's afterwards, you're probably not going to add or let me rephrase. If you're dropping a class, it might be because you want a different teacher, or you're not sure if you should take this class, so maybe you take a totally different class, and that doesn't necessarily go for this class. But keep in mind that just because you can drop through the 12th, you only have until the 10th to add. And then another important deadline is March 24th is the last day to withdraw. Now that's actually after spring break. You'll see the schedule in a second, but it's the week after spring break. So it's quite a ways away, but when it gets close, it comes very quickly. And if you're ever on the fence about withdrawing, you should contact me. But keep in mind, as soon as March 25th comes around, you can no longer drop the course. You will get a letter grade for finishing. All right, I'll let you read through some of this stuff here. But the main thing about accessibility, if you have any sort of accommodation, like you get extra time for taking tests. That's the big one for an online course, is extra time taking tests. Well, if you get extra time taking tests, you need to email me your letter, and just keep in mind that it doesn't come straight from high school. So if this is your first semester in college and you had extra time taking tests in high school, you still need to make an appointment to get a letter that says that you get extra time through the college. You cannot, or it will not automatically be given to you. Keep that in mind. All right, the last little bit here is basically about the fact that this is an online course. Everything's online, so you have to have the internet. Everything needs to be accessible. And really the only thing I have to say about communicating online, so when you write your discussion boards, is just be polite, of course. if you're excited about something, and you want to like really stress, maybe you're answering a question to someone, don't type in all caps, for example, just put an exclamation mark at the end, because you don't know how someone's going to take it, and who knows who might get offended about that. But you can read the general rules. Just basically think about this, even though it's educational, because you don't know how someone else is going to read it, try to make sure it's as professional as possible. If you wouldn't write something to your boss in an email, don't write it on the message board, sort of thing. And I have just some general tips for success. No, nothing crazy here. It's usually pretty obvious. But what I would say here is, honestly, for an online class, you have to stay focused. You got to try to not put off everything until the weekend if you can. And because you don't have a lecture time, you're going to have to do that on your own. There are lecture videos. So that, on top of the recommended 4 to 6 hours per week for homework, you're looking at 7 to 10 hours per week for this course. Now, if you're good at math, it comes quickly. It'll definitely be less, but that's just a number to keep in your head. And then the other big thing, of course, you're told this in every math class ever, is that you need to do the work. You need to do the homework. So the online exercises, the homework and quizzes are the only assigned online work that you receive credit for, right? Besides the test, of course. So you need to make sure that you're doing them. You can read all the notes and examples you want. And of course, you want to do that before you take any homework problems, any quizzes, and definitely before any tests. But you need to make sure you do them and not just watch them. Right? And just some other general tips, but long story short, do your homework. There's a big reason why I made it worth more than most of your other math classes will ever have homework be worth. So 20% is a pretty high number. Most won't go past 10 or 15. And that's because I know the importance of homework and I know you really need to do it. So just do it, ask questions if you have them. All right, so that's the syllabus in general. The other link here is the pacing. You can print this out if you want to, or just realize it's here. This pacing is pretty much built in the syllabus anyway. I think it takes a while to load because it's coming from an Excel file, but basically this is the schedule. And the reason I do this is I think it's just very helpful to kind of know, are you staying on pace? So for example, week 1 this week starts on the 6th, tomorrow. So the homework is due. It's just an introduction. There's not really any math. It's just a how to type sort of thing. I actually, because I don't want homework due Friday, which is the day after the first day, it's actually due on the 9th. You'll see that in the schedule. But everything else here, the due dates are exactly what it shows. So for example, next week, you'll have homework 1.1 and homework 2.1 due on January 14th. Because it is the first real week, I don't want to give you extra things. So there's no discussion, there's no quiz. I just want you to get in the routine of things. But after that, we'll start our normal routine. So pretty much from week 3 on will be our normal routine. You'll have homework due on Fridays. You'll have the discussion boards. The initial post is due on Saturday. And then Sunday, you'll have to do those 2 peer responses along with quiz or a test. Now, keep in mind, which I will show you, that everything besides the tests are available to you right now. So you don't have to wait till a Sunday to do a quiz. You don't have to wait till a Friday to do the homework. You can do them throughout the week. All right, and the other thing I have here are just kind of the holidays and other important days. So MLK Junior Day, which is January 17th, is a holiday, no classes. Doesn't affect us much, but if you do have in-person classes, that's a Monday, so you'll have that off. And spring break is the 14th through the 18th, so nothing is due that week. And then the last important thing, even though it's written here, because it's off schedule from our normal thing, final exam due April 28th. Okay. So that's the main thing. I guess the other thing here is that I have the practice test due the day before test. And then the HonorLock practice test, which is just the one off the wall sort of assignment to help you get ready for the real test, is due January 23rd. So that is the week 3. I'll send an announcement later about that. But the important thing about this is I don't want you to think it's math-based. It's a free homework grade. You just need to go through it so you know how to get on HonorLock correctly. Okay. But back to the home page now. So I'll scroll back up here. Student office hours. If you click on this tab, student office hours are on Monday and Tuesday, 7 to 8 a.m., 7 to 8 p.m., on Zoom. And the way the meeting room works is if you've used Zoom before, you might know if you access it through your phone, you might have to go through an app. But if you're on your computer, which is probably the easiest thing to do, especially if you're coming to office hours, is just go through this link. You go through this link, you don't have to do anything extra. It'll just open up for you as long as you have Zoom downloaded. All right, so the student resources tab, I won't click on these links because you can see what they are, but it's basically exactly as it's described. So a link to the Learning Commons, which if you're not familiar with, is the free tutoring service from TCC. If you don't want to go to Learning Commons in person, you can actually view both of these links. It'll tell you how to get on the Learning Commons virtually. Virtual TCC, this is just a little website. I'll click on it for you, where you can access many of the outside of class departments, but virtually. So you don't have to go in person, or you can use these to make appointments for things. And then the last thing, this might not even be valid anymore, but it's just general recommendations due to COVID. So it doesn't really affect us because once again, this is online class, but if you have any in-person classes, it's there for you just as a reminder. So this Desmos online graphing calculator, I actually have a video in here on how to use it. And I would say at this point, I'm not going to go through Desmos here because there's a video here, but just keep in mind there's a free online graphing calculator. You don't need to spend $100 if you don't want to. Textbook links sounds exactly like it is. And open a new tab, but basically in each section, there are textbook links. I don't typically recommend going through these unless if you want something extra. Now I'll show you why. And then, like I said, these are 2 handouts. They're not going to necessarily be useful right now because there's very little you have to do with the graphing calculator, and it's not for a while. All right, so what's below this? We have quizzes, we have practice tests, we have tests, and then I'll go back up to those, but I want to get to really where you're going to spend your time. So unit 1 on, this is where the notes, the videos, and the homework are. And in each section, it's set up like this. You'll see a link for the lecture video for that section, a link for the blank notes, a link for filled out notes, and the actual homework assignment itself. So I'm just going to go through this one section to kind of show you what it looks like. But if I click on the lecture video, what it'll do is it'll bring this page with a YouTube video. You can play it. You can open it on YouTube for a much larger picture, of course, so you don't have to watch so small. But what I'm doing in these videos is if I open the blank notes, you can print these out. It'd probably be a lot easier if you want to keep up with it. Again, just sometimes it just loads kind of slowly, but I've never had an issue with it actually opening. You can also download it, which would probably be quicker, but I'm not going to download it. And what I'm doing in these videos is I'm going exactly in order of these notes. And what I'm doing is I'm solving these problems, talking about them, annotating them. So it's not just math, but there's words to it as well that I write down, like little pointers and helpful tips. And really what I do is I go through the order of the way the problems pop up in the homework as well. So it's not just a random order anyway. But once I'm done going through a lecture video, the filled out notes are going to be those blank notes. And it's exactly what I filled out going through the video. I don't recommend opening the filled out notes just to start there and run with it because, well, one problem is that, it can be a lot to look at once. So when this loads in a moment, I'll show you. But it's really best to go through. And what I typically recommend students do, if there's anything you take from this entire video I'm making right here, it's what I'm about to say. I go through the homework problems in a similar or very similar order, I go through these lecture video problems basically in the same order as your homework for a very easy to explain reason. If you watch me solve this one, then what I recommend you do, like one, maybe two problems at a time in a section, watch me solve one and then jump to the homework. And so I'm just going to show you what the filled out version looks like so you can see how it can look a little intimidating if you just jump into it and don't watch the video, especially like this problem is pretty lengthy. But what I recommend is exactly this. So I'm going to go ahead to open a homework assignment. You just open it. You won't have to register or anything as long as you're on Canvas. All you have to do is say I have read this user agreement because they probably, at least since I have like a fake account, I always have to do this. You might not have to, but I just have to agree to it. And I can start. And so if I watch the lecture video going to this first one, so you can kind of see what it looks like solving this. The lecture video will walk you through it. And this homework problem is very similar. And you'll notice that this one's also very similar. So maybe I can do the first two. And then this one, oh, that might look a little bit different than this first one. So I might need to go down to the next one and see how to solve that. But I'd recommend doing it as you go like that. It's a lot quicker. It'll save you time and you'll learn more. So just keep in mind, that's what I recommend. The filled out notes are only there for you after you've watched the video, after you've done the homework, and maybe you don't want to go through or you misplace your own notes. So you don't want to go through the whole video again. But I do not recommend just looking at them from the start. All right, so that's how each section is set up. One thing I also want to show you is with homework assignments. This is only for homework assignments. You may have noticed this button, but when you open them, it will ask you to redeem a late pass. Now, if you're not past the deadline, so you'll see that this is due Friday 11/14. It's not due yet, which means you don't have to use a late pass to open it. You can just start like I did with the other one. But if you use a late pass, it'll tell you how many you have left. And yes, you actually do start with 200. You have plenty. So running out of late passes should never be an issue. But every late pass will extend your deadline by 3 days. So if I hit redeem late pass, what you'll see now is it's due 3 days later. And I can use another one. This is, of course, should be used if you're past the deadline. If you're not past the deadline when it's due, don't waste your late passes. You never know what you might need. But these only work for homework assignments. All right, so I'm going to go back. So that's how all these sections are set up. And they're set up in units based on what's on the test. So unit 1 goes through 5.3. That's what the first test goes through. Unit 2, which is going to be test 2 material, is 6.1 through 8.4. Test 3 is unit 3 material, and it's all in order. And then kind of this one section, 13.2, is just one section after test 3 that's before the final. So kind of sits out on its own. As far as final exam review materials, there's some extra ones down here, but the practice final exam is the best. I just like to leave this here as a reminder, but don't want to talk about that too much before we've even started the course. All right, so the last thing I want to really show you here is the quizzes and the practice tests. Very briefly, how the quizzes work, there's a little link here, but long story short, like I said, is that quizzes, you get 4 tries per problem. Now the syllabus quiz is different, but quiz 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 9, if you open one. So you don't have to accept that user agreement every time, just the first time, but you'll notice this little arrow here. That means the number is the amount of tries you have. So you always have 4. So if I go ahead and kind of the point I'm going to show you here is that you're down to 3 tries, you're down to 2 tries, you're down to 1 try. If you don't get it right, it will tell you the answer, but you'll notice you got 0 out of 4 and you have no more tries. That went away. And you can get partial credit. It just really depends on what's going on in the problem. But the point is you get 4 tries. After that, you have no way to do the problem again. All right, so that's how quizzes work. Quizzes aren't like regular quiz in class. So if you leave like a homework assignment, you don't have to do it all at once. So I can leave it and come back and I can pick up where I was. Now I got problem 1 wrong 4 times, so it's not going to let me try it again. But you can jump back into it. So it's not the end of the world. Right. Just to contrast that to the homework assignments, I didn't really show you the number of question attempts here. If I go back to a homework assignment and resume that, what you'll see is I have 3 tries. So it might look like I only have 3 tries, but it's just 3 tries for this problem. I actually get to refresh it 100 times. You'll notice that on the quiz, the get a similar question did not pop up. If I click on that, I get 3 tries again, and now I have 98 tries. So I guess technically you don't have unlimited tries, you have 300 because you get 3 times 100, but still that is plenty. Now what I want to also show you is why just because you get a homework problem right, if you don't feel confident on it, you can keep going, trying it without losing your credit. So all right, so what I did is I went ahead and worked this problem out real quickly to get it right. And you'll notice it says I have 4 out of 4 points on this problem. So I got my points. Well, maybe I don't feel confident. I want to make sure I can do it again. If you get a similar problem and you answer it and you get it wrong, you still get your points saved. So as soon as you get a problem right, it's right forever. You don't have to worry about losing your points. You can always try it again if you feel like you need to. And this setup is exactly how the practice tests are set up. Oh, if I go to a practice test here, it doesn't matter which one. You can't use a late pass, so you'll see that there's no late pass button popping up here. But if I go ahead and kind of do the same thing, you'll notice I have this 3, but I have a 99 as well. I get 300 tries. So if I get it wrong 3 times, then it's just going to tell me I'm wrong. I can look and see the right answer. Okay, thank you. I can get a similar question. So I went ahead to another problem, but I just answered this one right. And just like the homework, I don't need, especially for practice tests, you're probably at the point where if you get it right, you feel confident. But if you want to get a similar question, you can. And if you guess, and just make sure I get it wrong on purpose, you keep your points. So just like a homework, you can always build up your score. And once you get a problem right, it's not going to be wrong. All right, and just to clarify, practice test bonuses, how it works is in here. It's exactly how I explained before, so you can feel free to read that. And then how quizzes work is explained as I did before. Also, one thing I didn't mention, I don't believe, is that your lowest quiz grade will be dropped. That's done automatically throughout the semester. So if you think, I'm going to have my lowest quiz drop at the end of the semester, it's actually done as you go through. All right, so that's pretty much this homepage, which is 99% of where you're going to spend your time. The announcements page is just where I post announcements. If I post an announcement, you'll see a little number pop up here typically that there's a new announcement. The Zoom tab doesn't have anything on it because I have the only thing we use Zoom for is the office hours, which the link is in here. I only leave this here for the sake of reminding you that there are Zoom office hours in case you forget. The discussions are not on this homepage, so that's like the one thing that you cannot see on this homepage. But if you click on the discussions, and they do pop up as a reminder everywhere. So week 2 would be the first one. Click on this, and really it just describes exactly how you do it. So week 2, these are the learning objectives. That'll make sense when you go through it. And then all you have to really do is just follow this setup for your initial post. They're all the same, and then respond to 2 of your peers. That should say 2, not 3, so I apologize. 2 peer responses, they're worth 3 points each. And, pretty much someone's going to write their little post about what they think. And then you can respond, say, hey, I thought that this one was actually easy. This is what I did. I thought this was hard too. Something like that. The syllabus tab. The syllabus tab has the same syllabus and pacing links. It has the grade breakdown. So just like it is on the syllabus, it has all the links to things and when they're due. So this is a nice reminder as well. I prefer the schedule on the little PDF that I made, the pacing, but you can use this here as well. The grades tab, probably, where you spend almost all your time. That's not on the homepage just because, making sure your grades are accurate. This number up here will show, of course, your total grades so far. One thing I do want to mention is as soon as you start an assignment, even if you don't get any questions right, so remember I didn't get anything right on that quiz, because I started it, it says 0 out of 20. But like you saw, I can go back in and improve my score until it's due. So it's not like this 0 out of 20 stuck there forever. That works with any assignment. So homework, if you can only do a couple problems on the homework and then you have to leave, it might say 10% for a while or whatever your percentage is, but you can go back into it. That's pretty much the only tabs you need right now. Study Edge, if it's it's not going to be supported right now. So it actually did load. Usually it doesn't load before the semester starts, but Study Edge is just a tutoring service that's offered through this company called Study Edge, and this is set up for your college algebra. Now, for some reason, yours doesn't pop up with college algebra. Just hover over here and click on college algebra. And what they do is they're short little videos. They're better for a refresher, and they go in the order of the way we do problems. So if you go through, solving equations is the first one. There's a whole bunch of little videos here. Now, one thing I would say is that this should be a secondary resort to the other videos, because while this tutoring service does work with TCC to make sure that it's the same material, it's not the professors that work here. So keep in mind that it might not be 100% exactly matching, but it's very good. It's just a secondary resource. Now for the other tabs, I always forget. So I just remembered, there's also this class wall. You can post to it. There's a little pinned post here. And the way it works is pretty straightforward. You post your question, and then the tutor will guide you along with your answer. The important thing you need to know about this is that it is available from 6 to midnight every day, Monday through Sunday. So typically the times where you can't get access to a professor, you can post something to a wall and you're supposed to get a very quick response. All right, now the last thing that's in this video we have, in the video I'm making, but the last thing in Canvas, there's Honor Lock. I guess it's not working yet, so you don't ever need to go through here anyway. So I'll just let you know that you never need to go through here. It's just there because if it's not there, then I can't make things go through Honor Lock. So you never need to go here. And then the last thing, online tutoring from Smart Thinking. This is the last resort. I would go to Study Edge first. I would go to Learning Commons first. I would go to me first before you do anything else. Now, the reason this won't work for me is because I don't have a real account. I'm on a fake student account. But if you do access it through your account, it should just pop up. You don't have to log in. Right? But that's everything that I can think of that's in Canvas. One thing I'll go ahead and mention is that this video should give you a good hint at going through and doing the syllabus introduction quiz, which is due on Sunday, this coming Sunday, like our normal quiz day. One thing I will mention is that pretty much everything in here in the syllabus quiz is a true false. I'm just going to go ahead and click on it to show you anyway. I'm not going to go through it, but you get 3 tries on this quiz. It's pretty much a true false quiz anyway, and you get 3 attempts. So there's really not a reason to not get 100%. If you get a question wrong because you answered true and it was false, then when you go through it the next time, you should know the right answer. But this quiz isn't intended to hurt your grade. It's just to let you know of the general idea of the course and how it works, where everything is, and so on. So if there was something that maybe you missed, or even I missed going through this video, and you're not sure what the answer is when you're taking the quiz, keep in mind you can just take it again. So there's no harm in guessing. But that's it for me. So like I said, I hope you all have a good semester and this goes well. Always let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help. And good luck starting your semester off well. Bye-bye.